Hello, everyone. I'm Billy.
And I'm Kamraun. Welcome to the Horse Frog Podcast, home of your two favorite professional digressors and the creators of the Malazan Brotherhood.
Today, we'll be discussing Book 4, Chapter 25 of Memories of Ice, a novel in the Malazan Book of the Fallen. This is part 6 of our coverage of our chapter.
Wow. Our first six-parter is going to end up being 7.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. This podcast series is intended to be a companion to reading or listening to the books set in the Malazan universe. It's not a book review, and it is most definitely not a replacement to reading the books. Both Billy and I know
Testify
this to be the best fantasy story ever written and want to share our love of the series with you.
We will be covering the events of the books in a linear fashion, and there will be spoilers for those that have not read the books. We'll try not to spoil anything prior to us covering that portion of the respective book.
A quick warning. Today's episode contains highly distressing situations that are very emotional and thus is not suitable for children.
You got me with the emotional damage. Thanks. I think I'd rather take the violence level than the emotional damage, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
Our show is listener supported. If you'd like to support us, we'd really appreciate that. You can do so by visiting our Patreon link on our website at horsefrogproductions.com. Currently, we're posting ad-free episodes on Patreon weekly.
Also, we'd really like to hear from you. Send any feedback or comments to contact@horsefrogproductions.com. All right, Chapter 25, Part 6. We pick up the chapter with Gruntle and Stani. She came to his side, her eyes, like his, on the figures gathering on the hilltop around them. She asked, "Do you know what I wish?" Gruntle shook his head and said, "No, Stani. What do you wish?" Stani said, "That Harlow was here." Gruntle said, "Aye." Stani said, "I'd settle for just his body, though. He belongs here, with these other fallen, not under a small pile of stones in the middle of nowhere." Gruntle thought, Harlow. Were you the first death in this war? Did our ragged troop represent the first allies to join the cause? Stani said, "Do you remember the bridge? All busted down, Harlow fishing from the foundation stones? We saw Moonspawn, didn't we? South horizon, drifting east. And now, here we are, in the damn thing's shadow." Brood and Dujek were approaching Korlat, who had remained standing over the 3 covered bodies. 2 steps behind them, Tashrin, the sorceress patina of youth gone from him. There was an unnatural hush in the dark air, through which their voices easily carried. Dujek had stepped past Korlat to kneel before the 3 fallen Malazans. He grated, "Who was here?" hand reaching up to rub at his own face. He asked, "Who saw what happened?" With a voice devoid of inflection, Korlat said, "Myself, and Tashrin." The moment Silver Fox appeared, Kalor struck the 2 of us down first, ensuring that we would be incapable of reacting. I do not think he anticipated that Whiskey Jack and the 2 Marines would step into his path. They delayed him long enough for Tashrin to recover. Kalor was forced to flee to his new master, the crippled god. Dujek asked, "Whiskey Jack crossed swords with Kalor?" Then drew the rain cape away from Whiskey Jack's body and silently studied his friend. He said, "This shattered leg, was it responsible?" Gruntle saw Korlat, who still stood behind Dujek, hesitate. Then she said, "No, High Fist. It broke after the mortal blow." How considerate of her to hold this info back.
Yeah, right now, I don't think Dujek could take that because, Whiskey Jack and him were pretty close.
Oh, yeah. I don't think anybody on the Malazan side could take that information.
No, not right now.
After a long moment, Dujek shook his head and said, "We kept telling him to have it properly healed. Later, he'd say. Always later. Are you certain, Korlat, that it broke after?" Korlat said, "Yes, High Fist." Dujek frowned, eyes fixed on the dead soldier before him. He said, "Whiskey Jack was a superb swordsman. Used to spar with Dasim Ultor."
Dasim Ultor.
And it'd take a while for Dasim to get past his guard. He glanced back over his shoulder at Korlat, then at Tashrin and said, "And with the 2 Marines on his flanks, how long, High Mage, until you recovered?" Tashrin grimaced, shot Korlat a glance, then said, "Only moments, Dujek. Moments. Too late." Korlat said, "High Fist. Kalor's prowess with the blade. He is a formidable warrior." Gruntle could see the frown on Dujek's face deepening. "By all accounts, we've heard that Dasim Ultor was a formidable warrior. For Whiskey Jack to give him a hard time says a lot about Whiskey Jack's skill.
Mm-hmm.
By extension, this says a lot about Kalor's skill as well."
Yeah, the Dasim Ultor thing, what little bit we know about him, we know he was the first sword of the Empire. And so Whiskey Jack just appeared to be kind of a commander, but not a high commander or nothing like that. So that he was able to spar with this guy and kind of keep him at bay. But yeah, what you said about Kalor as well, that's like, wow, okay. That says an awful lot about Calor to me if he's able to fight off a man that can fight off someone else that we know is supposed to be pretty awesome.
Calor was also pumped up a little bit with chaotic energies, so who knows if he had super speed a little bit or something increasing his strength. Who knows?
Yeah, and he's also just the years of waiting. He's one of those guys that's a good ambush killer, I'm assuming.
Like a viper?
Yeah, just waiting for the right moment. The right moment appears and boom, he strikes, and he was bad. I mean, dude, he struck right. I'm sorry. He's a bad dude, but he struck at the right time as much as I hate it.
Yeah, that's what he was like, yes, when he saw his moment.
Oh, yeah.
Stani muttered under her breath, this doesn't sound right. That broken leg must have come first. Gruntle reached out and gripped her arm, then shook his head. He thought, no, Corlat must have a reason for this. This deceit. Stani's eyes narrowed, but she fell silent. With a rough sigh, Dujek straightened. He said, I have lost a friend. For some reason, the raw simplicity of that statement struck through to Gruntle's heart. He felt an answering stab of pain, of grief within him. He thought, Harlow, my friend. Itkovian. Gruntle turned away, blinking rapidly. It's good to see him having some emotional release regarding the loss of his friends.
Yeah, it is. He needs it. He is still human, after all. So he needs something.
In the past, he would have gone and drank himself into a stupor. So this is a little bit of a healthier way that he's processing it, I think.
This is better. Yeah.
Rake had arrived, Crone flapping desultorily from his path. Beside Rake, Picker. Gruntle saw other bridge burners behind them. Blend, Mallet, Antsy, Spindle, Blue Pearl. Armor in tatters, old blood crusting them, and all the life gone from their eyes. On the slopes now were gathered the survivors of One Arm's host. Gruntle judged less than 1,000. Beyond them, Bargast and Reeve, Tistandi, the rest of Brood's army. Silent, standing to honor the fallen. Wow, the Malazans sure took a hit during this battle. They were decimated.
Man, they were wiped out almost to the last man / woman on that one, weren't they? That's awful.
Dujek went in with, 5,000 to 6,000? Comes out with less than 1,000?
Yeah. How many are left of our other people from Whiskey Jacks?
Not many. About a fifth of them were wiped out by those condors as they were flying in on one of those waves, I think.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, they were bad. Those condors kill a bunch of them, dude. That's awful.
Mallet strode straight to where Whiskey Jack's body lay. Gruntle saw the healer's eyes study the wounds, saw the truth strike home. The large man staggered back a step, arms wrapping around himself, and seemed to inwardly collapse. Dujek closed on him in time to take his weight, ease him into a sitting position on the ground. Gruntle thought, some wounds never heal, and that man has just taken such a wounding. Would that Dujek had left Whiskey Jack hidden beneath the rain cape. For all the stuff that's happened in this book, all the characters we've lost, this is the moment that really gets me the most emotional. Seeing Mallet take that hit when he realizes what happened, it really gets me. A lot of men have this I'll walk it off or it'll work itself out attitude, when it comes to taking care of our health.
Yeah.
Sometimes we need someone to slap us metaphorically or literally and force us to take care of an issue. Mallet could have forced the issue with Whiskey Jack at any time since Gardens of the Moon, but he thought he was doing what his friend wanted him to do, and that will haunt him forever.
Yeah, that's going to be really bad for Mallet, and I hope he can recover from this, because in particular, I agree with all that you said there, but in particular, Whiskey Jack just has that, they all just adore him as their commander, and down to he wasn't just their commander, he's all their friend. Mallet's going to think I'll let him push me off, just going to push me aside, and it's going to be my fault. So, yeah, it's going to be hard for Mallet to get it past this. I hope he does.
Yeah, and I think part of the reason it hits me a lot harder than, say, Corlat, for example, Corlat really didn't know him that well. I mean, sure, they were in the throes of that early love type stuff, and that's when love seems the strongest, when it's a frenzy like that when you first meet somebody. Yeah, mi passion.
Yes.
The thing about Mallet was, he followed Whiskey Jack for years. They become like family because these soldiers don't have a family. Yeah. And in some cases, the people that they serve with in the military are closer and know them better than their family ever will. And to me, it's a deeper loss. And for Mallet in particular, because of his ability to have helped Whiskey Jack heal, it's a double whammy, man.
Yeah, I agree. And one thing that you said that I kind of forget about, that we have this idea of the army, like, from our point in time where folks just, they're over there fighting, and this was a bad deal in Vietnam. 2 days later, they're back home, chilling at home, and then they got to go back. There's no leave in the Malazans. There's no going home. The army is their home.
Mm-hmm. It's their profession.
It is their home, and that's their family. Yeah, it's their profession. So they just go where the army goes. They're never going home, as far as they're going to be here till they die or till they finally quit at some point in the future. But they don't. None of these fellas seem to have plans to quit because they're probably going to die before they get a chance to.
True.
And so it is all they've ever known. Yeah, it's very touching. It's very hard to see this from Mallet's point of view on that. Or I feel really bad for Mallet from that. What we've been talking about. This is going to be bad.
Rake was at Corlat's side. He said nothing for a long time. Then he turned away and asked, "Corlat, how will you answer this?" She replied tonelessly, "Orphantal makes ready, Lord. We will hunt Kalor down, my brother and I." Rake nodded and said, "When you do, leave him alive. He has earned Dragnapur." Corlat said, "We shall, Lord." Oh man, Kalor really messed up now. Having learned about Rake's hesitance to use the sword of late, the statement, "he has earned Dragnapur," really hits home now.
Well, for Kalor's sake, he better hope Rake don't get a hold of him. This is not going to be good for him.
Man, to have earned it. Ooh.
Well, I'm assuming all of Rake's kills have been one that he thought has earned it,
Maybe. In some cases, it seemed like he was defending something, and in this case, it feels like a judgment.
Oh, yeah, here it does.
Where the execution must take place. It's premeditated. Whereas, when the hounds were attacking on the plains in Gardens of the Moon, it seemed more of a defensive situation where he warned, this feels like the executioner's blade is waiting. This is what's coming.
Yeah, I agree.
Rake then faced the others and said, "High Fist Dujek, High Mage Taishren, Moonspawn is dying, and so has been abandoned by my people. It shall be sent eastward over the ocean. The power within it is failing, and so it will soon settle beneath the waves. I ask that these 3 fallen Malazans slain by a betrayer delivered here by myself and Caladan Brood, these 3 Malazans, be interred in Moonspawn. It is, I believe, a worthy sarcophagus." No one spoke. Rake then looked at Picker and said, "And I ask that the dead among the bridge burners be interred there as well." I think this again reinforces his view of the Malazans.
Mm-hmm.
It still surprises me given how long he's been alive. I wonder how many times in his life he's met people that he holds in this high esteem.
I even think Rake alluded to this at one point about how he just didn't make friends with anybody, even including his own folks. And, he just kind of kept to himself, and occasionally one cropped up. But this one, is to have earned, and not just that, but the Picker thing. I'm with you. This is such a core memory for him. Like, these people are so worthy that these 3, and I want these bridge burners just here. Because I've just gained some more respect for the Picker. Because Picker's like, dude, you made a good play as far as we're concerned. He's such an honorable man, or whatever he is, honorable dragon,
man dragon.
I got no idea what you draconian. I got whatever he is. I mean, he's very honorable, and his appreciation for these humanoids earns him deep love for me.
Mm-hmm. Picker asked, "Is there room for all our fallen?" Rake said, "Alas, no. Most of the chambers within are flooded." Picker drew a deep breath, then glanced at Dujek. Dujek seemed incapable of making a decision. He asked, "Has anyone seen Captain Perrin?" No one replied. Dujek said, "Very well. As to the disposition of the fallen bridge burners, the decision is yours, Lieutenant Picker." Picker managed a wry grin and said, "They were always curious about what was inside Moonspawn. I think that would please them." In the supply camp haphazardly assembled in the parkland north of the killing field, at one edge, the 722 Mott irregulars were slowly gathering, each one carrying burlap sacks stuffed with loot taken from the city. I had no idea there were that many of them. That is terrifying.
Wow. It's really terrifying. Because just think a few of these guys seem to give some pretty hardcore magic users a hard time. And that's a lot. 700, man. Wow.
That's as many as
really horrifying.
the remaining Malazan army.
Yeah.
It's almost about the same. That's crazy.
Yeah. Oh my.
Leaning against a tree was a massive table, flipped over to reveal the painted underside. The legs had snapped off sometime in the past, but that had simply made it easier to transport. The painted image had been glowing for some time before anyone noticed, and a substantial crowd had gathered to stare at it by the time the warren within the image opened, and out stepped Perrin and Quick Ben, followed by a short, robustly muscled woman with black hair. All three were sheathed in frost, which began to fade immediately as the warren closed behind them. One of the Mott irregulars stepped forward and said, "Greetings. I am High Marshal Jib Bull, and something's confusing me." Perrin, still shivering from Amtos Falak's brutally cold air, stared at the man for a moment, then shrugged and asked, "And what's that, High Marshal?" Jib Bull scratched his head and said, "Well, that's a table, not a door." And yet another High Marshal appears, and a Bull brother at that.
It's like the all High Marshal army, man. It's
Yeah.
what's great. I'm kind of curious. Are these guys really dense? Is that why they're not so susceptible to magic? Do you have to have imagination to be susceptible to magic?
Part of me thinks that these guys are just playing everybody around.
That could very well be. Well, we've seen some other people do that, like the two nameless Malazans that we've lost in this book that we'll never really get to know, but they were very well at that too. They did that same kind of misdirection in their conversations. So I think I'm with you on that. They're a lot smarter than they let on. They sure let on. I'm like, man, wow.
Maybe it's like a common sense type knowledge, and they're not studied in literature and well spoken,
Yes.
but they just have an understanding of the world in a certain way and human nature.
They're mountain men.
Yeah. Yeah.
They're the mountain men of magic busters, you know?
Speaking of mountain men, we lost Robert Redford this week.
Yes, we did.
Yeah, that one hit hard too.
And Harry Dean Stanton. Same day. And he's the exact same age.
Wow. Man, that's too bad.
But Robert Redford, in particular, Redford was in a lot of movies I've seen that I always liked.
Did you watch any movies in memorial?
I have not. I've fallen into something else. I started rewatching, and I'm taking a break from it because it's a long one. I started watching The Great Escape the other night.
Okay.
I needed old Hollywood. And it's not even that old. It's older than me. But I needed Steve McQueen. I needed that kind of action man. So I should have gone and watched Jeremiah Johnson because that's one of my first introductions to Redford as a kid was Jeremiah Johnson.
That's what it made me think of the Mountain Man.
Yeah, dude. Jeremiah Johnson's so great, man. There's the old saying that they said to each other, watch your top knot. Watch your top knot. You know, about not getting scalped. I'm sorry. I was like, I love that.
I watched The Sting recently, but my movie of choice this time was Sneakers. I don't know if you've ever seen that.
Oh.
It's great, man.
Not. I need to see that one. Have you seen 3 Days of the Condor?
Yes, that's what my dad watched, I think. Yeah, he loves that movie.
I just watched that I watched that about a month ago. My mother does too. We were just talking about that's a great flick, dude. I like Cold War spy thrillers for some reason. Well, it's my age, is a little bit older than you, and my parents were into that. It's what my parents were into. What do you want? I mean, I'm into what my parents were into. So
yeah. A short while later, as Perrin and Quick Ben made their way through the dusk towards the killing field, the wizard softly laughed. Perrin glanced over at him and asked, "What?" Quick Ben said, "Backwoods humor, Perrin. Comes with talking to the scariest mages we've ever faced." Perrin asked, "Mages?" Quick Ben said, "Well, maybe that's the wrong name for them. Warlocks might be better. Swamp-snuffling warlocks, with bits of bark in their hair. Get them into a forest and you won't find them unless they want you to. Those Bull brothers, they're the worst of the lot, though I've heard there's a lone sister among them who you wouldn't want to meet, ever." Perrin shook his head. "Imagine how tough the sister must be to handle all those brothers."
That is a scary thought. But the funny thing is, what I'm thinking of, I've watched so much Andy Griffith. Do you imagine that she's probably really pretty, though?
Oh, yeah, definitely.
And she's just gorgeous, but just don't mess with that gal. She'll kill you. She'll just kill you, buddy. But what's funny here in Quick says that they're a bunch of warlocks, and they smell out other warlocks. Oh my gosh, that's terrifying. No wonder they're so amazing.
Love these guys. Kilava had departed their company immediately after their arrival. She had offered the two men a simple word of thanks, which Perrin sensed was in itself an extraordinary lowering of her guard, then had slipped into the gloom of the forest. Perrin and Quickben reached the trader track and could see it straightening and climbing towards the ridge that faced the killing field and the city beyond. Moon's spawn hung almost directly above them, shedding misty rain. A few fires still lit Coral, but it seemed that the darkness that was Curald Ghislaine was somehow smothering them. He could not push the recent events from his mind. He was unused to being the hand of redemption. The deliverance of the Jagut child from the wounded portal of Morn had left him numb. He thought, so long ago now, outside Pale. I'd felt her, felt this child, trapped in eternal pain, unable to comprehend what she had done to deserve what was happening to her. She had thought she was going to find her mother, so Kalava had told her. She had been holding her brother's hand. And then it had all been torn away, suddenly alone, knowing only pain, for thousands of years. Quickben and Talamandus had done something to the child, had worked their sorcery to take from her all memory of what had happened. Perrin had sensed Hood's direct involvement in that. Only a god could manage such a thing. Not a simple blocking of memories, but an absolute taking away, a cleansing of the slate. Thus, the child had lost her brother, had found an uncle instead. He thought, but not a kindly one. The seer carries his own wounds, after all. And now Byrne's realm had found new denizens, was now home to an ancient warren. Quickben had said, memories of ice. There is heat within this chaotic poison, heat enough to destroy these servants. I needed to find a way to slow the infection, to weaken the poison. I had warned the crippled god, told him I was stepping into his path. We've knocked him back, Perrin smiled to himself at the recollection. The ego of gods was as nothing to Quickben's. Even so, the wizard had earned the right to some fierce satisfaction, hadn't he? They had stolen the seer from under Animander Rake's nose. They had seen an ancient wrong righted, and were fortunate enough to have Kalava present to partake of the redemption. They had removed the threat of the seer from this continent. And finally, through the preservation of Amtos Falak, they had slowed the crippled god's infection to a turgid crawl. He thought, and we gave a child her life back. Quickben murmured, Captain, a hand reaching up to touch his shoulder. Ahead, beyond the last of the trees, a mass of figures, covering the slopes of a broad, flat-topped hill. Torches like wavering stars. Quickben muttered, I don't like the feel of this. When the darkness dissipated, the bodies were gone. Those on the hilltop and those on the bed of the wagon that Picker and her soldiers had guided onto the side of the road below. There had been nothing elaborate to the interment. The disposition of the fallen within the massive, floating edifice was left to the Tistandee, to Animander Rake himself. Gruntle turned and looked up to study Moonspawn. Leaning drunkenly, it drifted seaward, blotting the brightening stars that had begun painting the land silver. The night's natural darkness would soon swallow it whole. As Moonspawn drew its shadow after it, there was revealed, on the ridge on the other side of the trader road, a small gathering of soldiers, positioned in a half-circle around a modest bier and a pile of stones. It was a moment before Gruntle understood what he was seeing. He reached out and drew Stani closer to him, then whispered, Come on. She did not protest as he led her from the hill, down the slope, through silent, ghostly ranks that parted to let them pass, over the road, across the shallow ditch, then onto the slope leading to the ridge, where the remaining 100 or so gray swords stood to honor the man who had once been Fëanor's shield anvil. Someone was following at a distance behind Gruntle and Stani, but neither turned to see who it was. They reached the small gathering. Uniforms had been scrubbed clean, weapons polished. Gruntle saw in the midst of the mostly Cappan women and gaunt Tenniscourie recruits a Nastor still astride his horse. Gruntle's feline eyes thinned on the strange, one-eyed young man. He thought, no, he is not as he was, no longer empty. What has he become, that he now feels like my rival? The destriant stood closest to the still form on the bier, and seemed to be studying Ecovian's death-pale face. On the other side of the bier, a shallow pit had been excavated, earth heaped on one side, boulders on the other. A modest grave awaited Ecovian. Finally, the Cappan woman turned and said, We mark the death of this man, whose spirit travels to no god. He has walked through Hood's gate, and that is all. Through, to stand alone. He will not relinquish his burden, for he remains in death as he was in life. Itcovian, shield anvil of Fëanor's Reeve. remember him.
I'm kind of curious about this statement here, where you go through Hood's Gate, but is there like another gate inside of Hood's Gate if you have a deal with another god? It's like, like if Fainur was still around, would you then go into Fainur's Warren? It's almost like you got to go through Hood's Gate to be stamped officially dead, and then you go to your final disposition.
I think that in the cases of these people that are sworn to the gods, maybe the thought is that the god would collect them directly, and they don't go through Hood's Gate.
That's kind of what I was thinking. Yeah. Interesting.
Maybe. Do you see it another way?
No, I don't see it any other way either. I think you're right on that.
Okay. As she made a gesture for the interment to begin, someone stepped around Gruntle and Stani and approached the destriant. A Malazan soldier holding a cloth-wrapped object under one arm. In halting Daru, he said, "Please, destriant, I seek to honor Ikovian." She said, "As you wish." The soldier said, "I would do something else as well." She cocked her head and asked, "Sir?" The Malazan removed the cloth to reveal Ikovian's helm and said, I did not wish to take advantage of him. Yet he insisted that he fared better in the exchange." "Untrue, destriant. You can see that. Anyone can. See the helm he wears? It was mine. I would take it back. He should be wearing his own. This one." The destriant swung round, looked down at the body once more, said nothing for a long moment. Then she shook her head and said, "No, sir. Ikovian would refuse your request. Your gift pleased him, sir. Nonetheless, if you have now decided that the helmet you gave him is indeed of greater value, then he would not hesitate in returning it to—" She was turning as she spoke, and, her gaze traveling to the now weeping soldier, then passed to something beyond them all. Her words trailed away to silence. Gruntle saw the young woman's eyes slowly widen. The gray sword's shield anvil suddenly pivoted in a soft clatter of armor. Then, a moment later, the other soldiers followed suit, as did Gruntle and Stani. The lone Malazan had been but the first. Beneath the silver starlight, every surviving soldier of Dujak's host had marched to position themselves at the base of the ridge's slope, forming ranks. Flanked by Tistandi, Rivi, Bargast, Black Maranth, a vast sweep of figures standing silent. And then Gruntle's scan continued eastward, down to the killing field. And there, once more, were the Talani mass, and they too were coming forward. Silverfox stood off to the far side, watching. The gray swords, stunned into silence, slowly parted as the first of the Talani mass reached the ridge. A bonecaster came first, holding in one hand a battered seashell hanging from a leather thong. The undead creature halted and said to the destriant, "For the gift this mortal has given us, we shall each offer one in turn. Together they shall become his barrow, and it shall be unassailable. If you refuse us, we will defy you." The destriant shook her head and whispered, "No, sir, there will be no refusal." The bonecaster walked up to Ikovian, laid the shell down on the man's chest. Gruntle sighed and thought, "Ah, Ikovian, it seems you have made yet more friends." The solemn procession of modest gifts, at times nothing more than a polished stone, carefully set down on the growing pile covering the body, continued through the night, the stars completing their great wheel in the sky until fading at last to dawn's light. When the Malazan soldier added Ikovian's helm to the barrow, a second wave began, as soldier after soldier ascended the slope to leave the man a gift: sigils, diadems, rings, daggers. Through it all, Gruntle and Stani stood to one side, watching, as did the gray swords. I don't know if I could keep it together emotionally if I was watching this on screen.
Yeah.
This hits me different than the situation with Mallet. In that case, I was really sympathizing with him and how he must be feeling. And in this case, it's really the beauty of the situation. The fact that Ikovian was able to have this much of an impact on so many people. It's incredible.
Yeah, and I'm with you. I would be bawling like a baby. But I think there's also another thing at work here. This is, in a weird way, it's our funeral for the whole 3 books so far that we've been through. It's the first time we've had a chance to purge ourselves of our deaths, of our companions, and to process it in a way. It's almost like the first funeral we've actually had in this series to kind of get it all okay. I mean, it's like, it's only book 3. We got to get this emotional stuff out of the way. Some of it. So we can make for some more meaner stuff.
Oh, God. Can you imagine if he had waited till the end of the last book to give us something like this?
Oh, I would be bawling and snot. I'd be on the floor probably crying or something. It would be awful.
Yeah, when I was doing my notes earlier today, Gruntle said he was doing a lot of blinking when he was thinking about Harlow and Akobian.
Mhm.
Man, I had to leave the room. I was getting emotional. I was sitting in the living room doing the notes on my laptop.
It's an emotional book, dude. It's very emotional. It's like he's taken the best aspects of the first two books, and all of a sudden this book is so great. I understand why folks like Memories so much. I mean, it's hard to name which one is my favorite because I've told you I have a hard time differentiating which book is which because I see it as a whole. But looking at it like this, man, Memories has been so dadgum good, man.
Yeah.
It's just been nonstop. I mean, it's been like no break whatsoever in this book, especially this last quarter of the book. It's relentless.
At the end of Deadhouse Gates, we were just exhausted. And then you have the tragedy with Coltane, and you're just enraged.
Ugh.
This, it's different because
Yeah.
there are some positive outcomes. I mean, in that case, there were two, right? They got the chain of dogs. They did get the civilians into the city.
Yes.
Coltane was held at a distance from us. We respected him and thought of him as a great commander, but we didn't get to know him that well. Whiskey Jack, we knew a lot better. So it really hit a lot more emotionally, I feel. With Coltane, it was just like a tragedy that you're just enraged about that it didn't have to happen.
I'm like you. With Coltane, we didn't spend enough time with him personally. I don't think we had 1,000 words from that fella through the whole book. He's always held off in the distance. You see him. He's always ever present, but he's a presence. That's the thing. Coltane was more of a presence felt than known. And these are presences that are big as Coltane, but that we know and have come to know deeply.
Yeah. With the last soldiers leaving the hill, Gruntle stirred. He stared at the massive, glittering barrow, seeing the faint emanation of Talon sorcery that would keep it intact. Every object in its place, immovable. Then reaching up with his left hand, a soft click, and the torques fell free. He thought, sorry, Treach, learn to live with the loss. We do. The gloom remained, suffusing the entire city of Coral, as the sun edged clear over the seas to the east. Perrin stood with Quick Ben. They had both watched the procession, but had not moved from their position on the hill. They had watched Dujek join the silent line of gift-givers, one soldier honoring another. Perrin felt diminished by his inability to follow suit. In his mind, the death of Whiskey Jack had left him too broken to move. He and Quick Ben had arrived too late, had been unable to stand with the others in formal acknowledgement. Perrin had not believed that so simple a ritual possessed such importance within himself. He had attended funerals before, even as a child in Unta. There had been solemn processions where he walked with his sisters, his mother and father, to eventually stand before a crypt in the necropolis, as some elder statesman's wrapped corpse was delivered into the hands of his ancestors. Ceremonies through which he had fidgeted, feeling nothing of grief for a man he had never met. Funerals had seemed pointless. Hood had already taken the soul, after all. Weeping before an empty body had seemed a waste of time. His mother, his father, he had not been there for either funeral, had believed himself sufficiently comforted by the knowledge that Tavora would have ensured noble ceremony, proper respect. Here, the soldiers had kept ceremony to a minimum, simply standing at attention, motionless, each alone with their thoughts, their feelings, yet bound together nonetheless, the binding that was shared grief. And he and Quick Ben had missed it, had come too late. Whiskey Jack's body was gone, and Ganoa's Perrin was bereft, his heart a vast cavern, dark, echoing with emotions he would not, could not show. Do you think this is his realization that funerals are for the living to say goodbye more than they are for those that have passed?
Yeah, I believe that is his realization that this is something I need, but I'm not able to participate because basically Ben and I were just too late, and I don't want to go interrupting because this already seems very solemn. He and Ben apparently feel very out of place at this gathering, and they shouldn't, but they do.
I think they just missed it. They came too late. The decision was made by Picker before they arrived. You know, they were walking up at the end of it, so I think that's part of it.
It is. So I know that makes them feel kind of bad.
Perrin and Quick Ben, silent, stared at Moonspawn as it drifted ever farther eastward, out over the sea, now a third of a league distant. It rode low in the air, and sometime soon, perhaps a month from now, it would touch the waves somewhere in the ocean, and then, as water rushed once more into the fissures, filling the chambers within, Moon's spawn would sink, down beneath the insensate seas. No one approached them. Finally, Quick Ben turned and said, "Captain, Perrin said, "What is it, Quickben?" Quickben said, "Moon's spawn. Draw it." Perrin frowned, then his breath caught. He hesitated, then crouched down, hand reaching to wipe smooth a small span of earth. With his index finger, he etched a round, cornered rectangle, then, within it, a rough but recognizable outline. He studied his work for a moment, then looked up at Quickben and nodded. The wizard took a handful of Perrin's cloak in one hand, said, "Lead us through." Perrin thought, "Right. Now how do I do that?" "Study the card, Perrin." "No, that alone will land us on its damn surface. A short but no doubt thoroughly fatal fall to the waves below." "A chamber," Picker said. "Rake's throne room. Think darkness, Kurald Ghislaine. A place unlit, silent. A place with cloth-wrapped corpses." Eyes closed, Perrin stepped forward, dragging Quickben with him. His boot landed on stone. He opened his eyes, saw nothing but inky blackness, but the air smelled different. He moved forward another step, heard Quickben's sigh behind him. The wizard muttered something, and a fitful globe of light appeared above them. A high-ceilinged chamber, perhaps 20 paces wide and more than 40 paces long. They had arrived at what seemed the formal entrance. Behind them, beyond an arched threshold, was a hallway. Ahead, at the far end of the chamber, a raised dais. The huge, high-backed chair that had once commanded that dais had been pushed to one side, two of its legs on a lower step, the throne leaning. On the center of the dais, 3 black wood sarcophagi now resided. That's crazy that they didn't even bother to fully remove the chair from the dais. It's just kind of half leaning off of it.
For some reason, I have a mental image of not they, but I feel like it's just Rake. Almost like Rake was the only one doing this. And it's like, just shove this useless chair off to the side here and put these guys in a place of honor where they deserve to be in a way.
Do you think he kicked it over there, pushed it over there with his foot?
I can kind of see that. I can very much see that. Just get out of there. And I've always felt for some reason it's very personal. That is core for me. A lot of this funeral stuff is very core.
Oh, yeah. Especially this visit here where they get their cathartic release. They get to pay their respects.
Yeah, I think this is really cool here.
Along the length of the approach, to either side, were additional sarcophagi, upright, on which black-webbed sorcery played. Quickben hissed softly through his teeth and said, "Where the looter who penetrates this place?" Perrin studied the sorcery's soft dance over the unadorned sarcophagi and asked, "Wards?" Quickben said, "That and a lot more, Captain. But we need not be worried. The bridge burners are within these ones flanking the approach. Oh, and one black Maranth." He pointed to a sarcophagus that, to Perrin's eyes, looked no different from all the others. Quickben went on. "Twist." The poison of his arm took him a bell before the first wave of Dujak's companies. Quickben slowly walked towards another sarcophagus and said, "In here, what was left of Hedge. Not much. The bastard blew himself up with a cusser." The wizard stopped to stand before the coffin and said, "Picker described it well, Hedge, and I will tell Fiddler next time I see him." He was silent a moment longer, then he turned to Perrin with a grin and said, "I can picture him, his soul, crouching at the base of Hood's Gate, driving a cracker between the stones." Perrin smiled, but it was a struggle. He set off towards the dais. The wizard followed. Quickben spoke names in a soft voice as they proceeded. Shank, Toes, Deterin, Aimless, Runter, Mulch, Buckland, Story, Liss, DeSalle, Trots. I would have thought the Bargast. No, I suppose not. He was as much a bridge burner as the rest of us. Behind that lid, Perrin, he's still grinning. As they walked, Quickben spoke aloud every name of those they passed. 30-odd bridge burners. Perrin's fallen command. They reached the dais and could go no further. Sorcery commanded the entire platform, a softly coruscating web of Kurald Ghislaine. Quickben murmured, "Rake's own hand. These spells." He worked alone. Again, a display of the importance of this to Rake. He didn't even delegate the magics.
I find that very touching. I get a little bit misty as you get down to that last bit, talking about the 30. I'm like, wow, I got a little choked up on that. But that's the Rake taking the time to honor these bridge burners along with Twist and his allies that were honorable allies in this battle is very, very touching, man. Very touching.
Perrin nodded. He had heard the same from Picker, but he understood Quickben's need to talk, to fill the chamber with his echoing voice. Quickben said, "It was his leg, you know. Gave out at the wrong moment. Probably a lunge, meaning he had Calor, had him dead. He would never have extended himself so fully otherwise. That damned leg. Shattered in that garden in Darujistan. A marble pillar toppling. And Whiskey Jack was just standing in the wrong place at the wrong time. From then to this." Perrin thought, and now Picker and the others are watching Mallet. Every moment, someone's hovering close. The healer might try to fall on his knife at any time, given the chance. Ah, Mallet. He kept pushing you away. Another time. I've too much on my mind right now. Nothing more than a dull ache. When this is done, we'll get to it then. It wasn't your fault, Mallet. Soldiers die. So, I had recently taken my boys to go see Jaws in the theater, the anniversary screening for the 50th anniversary.
Okay.
It had been a while since I watched it. For those that haven't seen the movie, the shark kills a girl at the beginning. The chief of police on this island tries to shut down the beaches, and the mayor pressures him into keeping the beaches open because it's their economic lifeline. If they close the beaches, nobody's going to come there and they're not going to have any tax revenue. So he gets pressured by the city council and the mayor to keep the beaches open. I guess it's the next day that they open the beaches, this lady's boy gets killed by the shark. Later in the movie, the boy's mom comes up to the chief of police and slaps him in the face, saying, I just found out that you knew there was a shark out there and you kept the beaches open. It killed my boy and now my boy's dead. I just wanted you to know that. And after she walks away, one of the people that's with the chief says, "It's not your fault." And he goes, yeah, it is.
Yeah.
That, to me, is a very similar situation to this thing with Mallet, where it doesn't matter what someone can tell you. Parents saying, it wasn't your fault, people die. But Mallet is never going to take it that way. Because people
That's right.
who had the ability to do something are going to look at this and be like, I should have done something different.
Yeah.
I just thought that was oddly similar situation to where the way he's processing.
It is. It's incredibly similar. And I think this is the first time we may have ever referenced Jaws. Let's just take a second here, because I myself have only seen Jaws once in my life, and that's been kind of recently, Kamraun, probably in the last 5 years. And let me tell you, that is an outstanding movie from front to end. That is, it's a fantastic movie.
It still holds up. It's an incredible movie, man.
Oh, my word. It's great. It's just a fantastic movie. Back in the day when movies were still good, that's a good harken back to some good movies, man. Good golly. And front to end, that's just a fantastic movie.
So that was, I think, his second movie that Steven Spielberg made. It's incredible what he was able to do at that stage of his career. Really.
Well, on top of that, let's just face the fact that everything he had planned that went wrong is why the movie's so daggum good.
Okay, give me some examples.
Well, from what I understood, everything with the mechanical shark, Bruce, as what he's named, I've understood, it all went wrong. And so they were supposed to show him a lot more. And that's kind of like showing the man in the monster suit. It did better not showing the monster all the time. All you get the fin. That's menacing enough.
Yeah.
You can't see underneath the water. That's horrifying. You see the fin, please, it's over, buddy. So that was so brilliant. He had to work around that and ended up making it better, I think. If we made that nowadays, well, it would be as gritty and as gnarly and as chunky as we could make it. Because everyone wants it to be nasty and gruesome and violent. And even I myself used to suffer from a lot of that. I appreciate the fact of its restraint for the kind of movie that it is.
It's still got some pretty gory stuff in it.
It does.
But yeah, given the better technology, I think we've seen what they do with it. So Deep Blue Sea comes to mind. And then The Meg. More recently.
I've not watched those movies. I just can't. I would rather watch House Shark, I think, than watch The Meg.
Deep Blue Sea, you've seen it, right?
That's the smart sharks, right?
Yes.
Yeah. It's been
CGI sharks. But of course, I have to mention the most hilarious part of that is when Samuel L. Jackson is giving his speech. You know it's coming. He's standing next to that pool and that shark just comes out and gets him. Shouldn't be laughing, but man, they set that up beautifully.
Yeah, that's too funny though.
Perrin watched Quickben remove a small pebble from his pouch and lay it on the floor in front of the dais. He said, "I may want to visit later," offering Perrin a faint, sad smile. He went on, "Me and Kalam." Perrin thought, "Oh, wizard." then lifted his gaze to the 3 sarcophagi. He did not know which one held whom. For some reason, that didn't matter much. Whiskey Jack and 2 Marines. He thought they were there for Tattersall. At the last. Always an even exchange, sorceress. Quick Ben said, I am ready to leave them now, Captain. Perrin nodded. They turned and slowly retraced their steps. Reaching the arched entrance, they stopped. Quick Ben glanced into the hallway and said, They left everything, you know. Perrin asked, What? Who? Quick Ben said, Rake, the Tistandee, left their possessions, everything. Perrin asked, Why would they do that? They are to settle in Black Coral, aren't they? The city's been stripped clean. Quick Ben shrugged and said, Tistandee, in a tone that silently added, We'll never know. A vague portal took shape before them. Quick Ben grunted and said, You've certainly a particular style with these things, Captain. Perrin thought, Yes, the style of awkward ignorance. Then said, Step through, wizard. He watched Quick Ben vanish within the portal. Then Perrin turned, one last time, to look upon the chamber. The globe of light was fast dimming. He thought, Whiskey Jack, for all that you have taught me, I thank you. Bridgeburners, I wish I could have done better by you, especially at the end. At the very least, I could have died with you. All right, it's probably far too late, but I bless you, one and all. With that, he turned back, stepped through the portal. In the silent chamber, the light faded, the globe flickering, then finally vanishing. But a new glow had come to the chamber, faint, seeming to dance with the black web on the sarcophagi. A dance of mystery. Mr. Erikson always has to sprinkle some plot seeds in there, doesn't he?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he does.
I wonder what Perrin just did when he blessed them. What does that actually mean?
That's a really, really great question. And what's funny, it's just a thought. It's just like he just kind of just did it. I think he kind of did it as an afterthought, not knowing if it would work. But I think when he did it, I think it's almost like I think that's what I was supposed to do. Maybe he feels compelled at the right moments to do it, I hope. I don't know.
I just wonder what this is going to manifest as.
Right.
Because we already had the Tano Spirit Walker song in the conch shell that Fiddler threw in Deadhouse Gates when they were in Tremorlore. And then now add to that the blessing of the Master of the Deck.
Master.
You're intermingling great, powerful forces here.
Yeah.
What is happening?
What's going to happen? That's a good question.
All right, we're going to stop there, and we will finish out the chapter next week.
Nice.
After nearly 2 months, I get to say we're going to finish out the chapter next week. For standout moments, Corlat holding the truth from the Malazans regarding when Whiskey Jack's leg broke to save them from the pain of guilt.
Wow. This is another, it's like not just Rake's compassion toward the Malazans, it's also Corlat's compassion to the Malazans here, wanting to spare them something for their law. Because even she felt something for this commander. She was in love with this guy, and she understands his pull, and so she wanted to take that pain from them. I find that very touching.
Yeah, she has her own reasons to be suffering right now, but she is still thinking of other people and keeping her stuff together to the point of whether she went into an emotional doom spiral or not. She's keeping it together.
Keeping it together. Keep it together.
Hearing that Dasim Ultor used to train with Whiskey Jack and that Whiskey Jack was skilled enough to hold him off.
Dude, now that is a revelation.
Yeah.
It's a revelation in one of those little short one-sentence revelations. You're like, wait, what?
Mm-hmm.
I've apparently read over that line a few times and it didn't hammer home like it did this time, but it's like, wow. Very, very impressive. Sizzle.
That's like finding out your dad used to spar with Chuck Norris or something, and like,
Yeah. And gave him a challenge and was giving Chuck a run for his money. It's like, wow, really? It's like, Dad, thanks for not killing me.
Yeah. That's probably the last Dasim Ultor we're going to get this book. I have a feeling.
I think so.
Dujek processing the loss of Whiskey Jack, stating he had lost a friend. And then this making Gruntle realize that he had also lost 2 very close friends.
Yeah, this is difficult to see. I'm hoping everyone's going to be okay through this, emotionally speaking.
Mallet's reaction to seeing Whiskey Jack's body, that for me is just the toughest emotional thing. It's one of the things that I've always wondered how I'm going to talk about it on the podcast since we started it.
Okay. Yeah, I get it. It is awful. It's an awful reaction because we just watched Mallet just basically have his legs kicked out from under him. Yeah, this is a really horrible thing to see here. I hope you're okay, Mallet.
Rake asking to lay Whiskey Jack and the bridge burners to rest within Moonspawn, and then personally doing the spell weaving / moving potentially.
Yeah, first off, it's absolutely core. I think that really almost is strange enough. Like that gets me more touched emotionally. The fact that this, let's just face it, man, Rake compared to the humans is very alien. He's very alien to them, but he has such compassion for these humans that he feels the need to do this for them is very, very touching.
Those Mott irregulars. That scene where Perrin and Quick Ben emerge from the table. Absolutely beautiful.
Yes.
Finding out there's so many of them. Unbelievable.
Oh, my word. That's scary. 720 something of them. Good golly, that's not very cool. That's kind of frightening. Imagine if they hadn't been there. I imagine the tide might not have gone the way it went. Apparently,
no, they were critical in this. They took out those mages.
Yes.
Those mages were causing massive problems.
Yeah.
The beauty of thousands of individuals of all races lining up to pay their respects to Ikovian.
Yeah, dude. Very, very moving. And yet again, just all core, it's just amazing, though. Amazingly, and just so touching.
And finally, Quick Ben and Perrin getting to say goodbye to the bridge burners.
Yeah, again, just very touching. And I think that's why that one hurts me more, because I think this is kind of like the end of the bridge burners almost. You know, it's wild, man. It's like it's something I've been reading about for these couple books. This might be the end of them.
Yeah, and then to further the point about the bridge burners, Perrin blessing them. Who knows what that means?
What's going to come of that? Yeah. Who knows what that, and especially what you brought up, the point of that combined with what's going on with the conch shell, because that's kind of about the same time, isn't it?
Oh, I hadn't thought of that. They're very close together. Yes, time-wise.
I think that stuff lines up. Do you think it lined up almost identical? Probably does.
That would be crazy. If you're doing a show, you're going to have to line those two things up. You have to do it at the same time.
Yeah. Yeah, you would. I just now saw that. I don't know why I just now saw that, but it's like, yes, it would be happening at the same time, I think.
Oh, man. All right, great job tonight, Billy.
Dude. We made it to the funeral. I may be all right.
I wasn't sure if I was going to be able to keep my voice together, but I made it.
Right.
So
you did a great job. Great job. But such a great, chapter. We still have one more little bit to go, but the Burial of the Bridge Burners by Rake, this whole thing, it's just so totally core. And what an end, at least it looks, it appears to be an end to the group known as the Bridge Burners, maybe, at the moment. I'm just curious to see what's going to happen, man.
Yeah, so am I. All right, thanks, everybody. We'll see you next week.
See y'all next week.
We thank you all for joining us today.
Again, we'd really like to thank you for taking the time to be with us, and we've had a really great time talking about the topic today.
If you would like to support our show, you can find us at horsefrogproductions.com, where you can find our Patreon link. Depending on the platform you're listening from, it may also be in the episode description.
And if you'd like to contact us through email, it's at contact@horsefrogproductions.com.